call to say some prayers for her after this. Hilary Boynton is with us, and Shannon's going to give her a more formal introduction. But Hilary is on the edge of all the fires in California right now. She has no electricity in her home. As of right now, their house is safe, but like as we all know, fires can change. And so we just want to pray before this call. But if you guys could keep Hilary and her friends and her family and her neighborhood in your prayers, they are facing severe devastation in Palisades and surrounding areas.
Yeah.
Thank
Is there
you.
anybody else on this call as well? I mean, you can put it in the chat, or just if you guys are in that area, we want to be praying for you guys as well.
Yes, for sure. Please let us know. Or if you guys have any family members there, anything. But on that note, like what Erin just said, maybe we could use a little distraction for a moment. So Hilary, thank you so much. I thought for sure we were going to have to postpone this call tonight. So I just really appreciate you making this happen and being here for this community tonight and sharing your expertise.
Of course, yeah, it's so near and dear to my heart, and I just need, I'm happy to have a distraction and help empower people and be, in the joy of being here and being present and, doing what we do. being
Absolutely. Well,
together.
you guys are in for such a treat. I'll let Shannon do the introductions, but we are excited to hear all that you have to share with us tonight for sure.
Yes, so obviously Dana Hinton is KICKcancER's executive director. If you don't know who she is, I am another cancer mama. My daughter's in survivorship, but KICKcancER was there for us over 7 years ago. And so just here to give back and love on you guys where you are, because we know what it feels like and we want to be there for you. Hilary Boynton. Oh my goodness. When I stumbled across her page, I'm like, I need to meet this woman. So I'm so excited to have her. She is the super mom that is behind what's called School of Lunch. She was just frustrated with the less than stellar school lunches, as most of us moms could probably adhere to. But she is a mother of 5 kids. And she decided it was time for a change. She teamed up with local farmers and foodies to spice up the lunch scene at her own children's school in Topanga, California, with meals that aren't just delicious, but are super nutritious. So that was really her focus. But she didn't stop there. No. Her School of Lunch program then came into fruition, for wholesome food for everyone. So through Soul, or School of Lunch, and I love that, soul like soul food, but SOL, right? Through Soul, she's empowering not only parents, but teachers and really anyone who's interested in learning beside her through this academy. But she's also, so that's like a 5-day in-person training, right, Hilary?
Yes.
But I hear that that's possibly going digital in the future. So I'm excited to hear more about that, to just help more people come into your mission, access more people, and make it more available for all of us. And then, of course, she wrote a book called Heal Your Gut Cookbook. So you can bring that into your kitchen. We like to call it the kitchen Bible. So anything that can heal your gut, right? So it has over 200 recipes. But so we welcome Hilary. Thank you so much for coming, and especially during this time of craziness in California.
Oh, thank you for having me. I know, I apologize. We have no hot water, no nothing. So I'm here just in the real, but so happy to be here. So I love what you guys are all about.
Well,
So important.
Yeah. So getting into the topic of affordable and nutrient dense, like those are 2 things that you think, okay, nutrient dense foods, not affordable, and how do I get them into a kid's diet? So this is what we're going to be trying to tackle tonight, because it's incredibly important, especially when we're navigating through childhood cancer, making sure that we're not giving them foods that are more inflammatory for their body. But so, okay, so first of all, you became the most amazing lunch lady that I could have ever dreamed of for my kids at your own kids' school. And I heard you were able to incorporate organ meats into the school provided lunch. Is this true?
Yes. Yeah, we actually try and put organ meats in as much as we can. We teach the kids about, we honor the animal by using the whole animal. And so liver, heart, we'll sprinkle pluck seasoning on their popcorn or whatever we can. We'll do a pig's ear in the beans. We make bone broths and really like gizzards. I want to incorporate more tongue, like anything we can do. It's like they're such nutrient dense foods. They're really the sacred foods that, our ancestors knew the wisdom of our ancestors, what these foods are, the healing foods, they are the sacred foods, and they're filled with so much nutrition. So to discard them is crazy because those are the most economical right now too, really. I mean, so chicken feet and chicken heads and necks and backs, all the things that you can make really nutrient dense foods with it, a lot of people are not interested in.
Yeah,
So
well, a lot of people are not interested. And I would say even before my daughter got diagnosed with cancer, I would not have been interested in it. My heart flutters right now. I'm like, that's so exciting, right? But
I know it's like organ meats.
I've learned along the way of the necessity of these nutrients. But I doubt you had a lot of kids that were truly interested at first. Like, how successful was that?
Well, and I have to say, it's not like we're like, hey, liver bolognese. We're not like shouting it from the rooftops because there are some kids, like there was a high schooler that, I'd put it all over Instagram because I wanted parents to see. And then, he sees it and he tells everybody. And then the kids are like, is there a liver in here? So it's about just, for me, I just want to get it in, have them experience the delicious food. And then obviously if they ask, I'll tell them and talk about it, like, yeah, I'm not going to serve, but we'll serve pate sometimes. And I'm really like even with the pluck seasoning, that's an organ-based seasoning. And that's a perfect way to start the conversation because I'll put it out next to the popcorn because we have some vegetarian kids, so they obviously don't want it all over everything. Or out for the broth, they'll put it in their broth and there's a spicy one and stuff. And kids will be like, what's in it? And I'm like, liver, heart, pancreas, spleen, kidney. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. Do you think we just like eat burgers and steaks all day? Like, no, we honor the animal by using the whole animal. And in fact, my staff said like a month ago, they're like, I forget which kid it was, but they're like, so-and-so came and they're like, can I have that liver powder? Like they, so once they realize that it tastes good, so that's like, pluck is like the perfect gateway to just start the conversation and like get that language back into our vocabulary, right? So we're not slapping out like a big heart and saying like, let's, go through this, but we're just right there to educate them every step of the way and get it in.
I mean, so different compared to, I think they're starting to talk about those prepackaged, like Ritz cracker, salami, like
Oh, the Lunchables?
Lunchables. They're starting to think about having those at school lunches,
Well,
right?
now they've taken them out.
Oh, they have?
Yeah, I think they got banned because all the information about like, moms across America shouting from the
Out
rooftop,
there
all the
now.
bad stuff. I think they were like, we're not gonna make it. I don't think there was a demand for them like they thought. I mean, the tides are turning, hopefully. So thank
Well,
God.
hopefully we can get tongue on the menu then and see if
Yeah.
about then.
It's so good. And these foods are like super nourishing and satiating. So like tongue is just like so rich in protein and fat. And so these kids are just like even, if you eat tongue, you're just, and it's so delicious. Like, I mean, the first time I made it, I was like, I can't, like it was just so like, but then once you kind of get over it, and as my friend said, like put your big girl panties on and just freaking do it. It's like, and then when you're sick, like, I got into all of this because of our huge healing journey as a family. And when you're sick, you pretty much do anything to heal, right? So like when we're making bone broths and stuff, I'm like pulling the pads off the chicken feet. I'm throwing heads in there. Like you start to feel better too. So you start to just like crave any sort of cartilage, anything that is healing. I would just pull it off, chop it up, throw it in, get it in. So you kind of get over the squeamish part of it pretty quickly when you realize these foods are so powerful.
That's incredible. Like I I know we got to move on, but I almost want to sit in that. Like I wish that we could have lunch ladies like you at every school. I
We're
also
going
understand
to. It's gonna
that
happen.
comes at a cost for the schools because it is more expensive to get nutrient dense foods in there, and the same way at our homes as well.
Well,
Um,
our food cost is actually pretty much comparable. We spend more money on labor, but it's not, it's not crazy. So it's doable, but you have to have innovative people, you have to have passionate people and people who understand. And like, of course, the dietary guidelines have to shift and hopefully, things will be changing where we're not villainizing meats and whole fat dairy and saturated fats and stuff like that, because those are the foods that I believe kids need to build their brains and build their bodies. And when we shift away from that, we head more towards carbohydrates and often processed, ultra processed carbohydrates, which we know are not serving us.
okay. I love this. And I love the fact that you're like, and we're going to. We're just going to
We're
speak
going to.
into an existence. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have your School of Lunch program, and then your continuing education. You wrote your book, but I also hear that you're doing some partnerships with Holistic Hilda.
Oh yeah. So our School of Lunch Training Academy, like you said, it's a 5-night intensive where you drop into the mountains of Topanga. Hopefully our retreat center will still be there tomorrow. But it's beautiful and you just get a chance to kind of drop in and let go of your day to day and really be like immersed in nature and surrounded by like-minded people and wonderful instructors. And Hilda is one of our instructors who comes and really teaches about ancestral wisdom and what she's discovered traveling around the globe with all these like, non-industrialized cultures and how they've, how they're thriving free of disease, much like, because she's kind of like, what does she say? Dora the Explorer 2.0. She's like a Weston Price going out, in today's world. And she has her, 6 secrets of health and her sunrise walks and sleep and all the important things that that are, supportive alongside of diet. So the training academy is really about a lifestyle. So I can talk more about the academy, but yes, Hilda is one of our instructors and we've become friends across the years, across the last 10 years. And she's just, yeah, beautiful person. I know you guys got to hear her last month.
Yes, we actually got to have her on a live. Dana interviewed her. She was fantastic. And so I loved hearing that you guys were besties. And then the great part about this, we'll put it in the chat later, is that anyone who is live on tonight's call with us here is going to get access to Hilda's Hub for the next 3 days, including a cooking class with Hilary and Hilda on Saturday.
Yes.
So
we're going to be making chicken
excited.
soup.
Yes.
So
I'm really excited. We'll put that in the chat at the end, just to make sure anybody else who sneaks in will still be able to get that. So that's really exciting. Okay, Hilary, could you share your top strategies for parents looking to introduce more nutrient dense foods into their child's diet? Like, what strategies would you say?
Well, I would say, first of all, remind yourself that it's a process, right? Like we can't do everything overnight. And we've all kind of been, in the last 100+ years, kind of shifting away from this ancestral wisdom and these kind of the knowledge that was passed down from generation to generation. So just like give yourself a pat on the back. You're stepping into the work and you're trying to infuse more nutrient density into your family and learn more day by day. So one of the things that helped me the most was the Weston A. Price Foundation, which is what Hilda does, the Wise Traditions podcast for them. So the work of Dr. Price, really, when my son had severe eczema head to toe, I was actually trying to change school lunches back in Massachusetts in a public school, and the woman that was helping me started like throwing all these flyers at me, and we can do this in the schools and this, that, and Weston Price this. And I was like, what is she talking about? Anyway, she told me to put my son on raw milk, and I did because her son healed from asthma with raw milk, and I didn't even know what raw milk was. But in a matter of months, literally after steroid cream and Zyrtec twice a day, all the things with raw milk and cod liver oil, he was totally healed. So that was my foray into like food as medicine. And so the Weston A. Price is a foundation that is designed to empower you with resources. And so they've been a wealth of knowledge that has just really infused me with a lot of empowerment. And they have, what's the word? They have people all around the world, little, what is it? The like representatives, whatever, like West chapter leaders all around the world that are designed, their main job is to hook you up with your local food system. So if you reach out to, if you go onto their website, you can type in like find a local chapter leader. And usually, you know, in the United States, especially but it is around the world. There's probably somebody somewhat close to you that you can find your local eggs and your local meat and, you know, just have more resources and support.
I think that's a great strategy for these parents, is to hook into that support and chapter
Yeah.
leaders of the Weston A. Price.
And
Yeah.
for those of you who've gotten our kits, there's the shopping guide is in there.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if you have a Kick Cancer kit, definitely pull that out after this call, because it is a little overwhelming if you don't know how to utilize it, but maybe Hilary can touch on that a little
Yeah,
bit.
just start. I mean, honestly, like it's also a community. So some of the chapters have meetings once a month. Not that you guys have tons of time, but you know, it's a nice resource of people that are looking to do things more holistically and really empower the individual to take control of their own health. And so I would say really start with where you are and decide as a family that this is a value system that you are going to, you know, implement into your home, and so that everyone's on board. Because if the mom's on board and the dad isn't, or the dad's on board and the mom isn't, it's really challenging. And then if you're feeding some kids one thing and other kids another thing, I mean, not that, you know, you have to be super rigid, but I think it helps. Like, you know, we had, you know, a child with epilepsy and we were trying to heal her specifically, I guess, but our whole family really needed the GAPS diet. So it's just like, we're just all in, and it made a big difference to just kind of be in it together, because then you're just really like can support one another, and it's not like you're fighting the battles every day.
Yeah.
And then involving everybody with the decisions. And, you know, like I was saying to someone today, just like the nourishment of the family becomes a family affair. Like often it falls on the shoulders of one, which is usually the mom. And we are like often working full time and have a lot going on, or we're not well, our kid's not well, this is happening, you know, with a lot of kids, or even, you know, with a sick child, there's just so much going on. And so to think about the meals, like I'm not a planner really, but when I started as the lunch lady, someone said to me, like, freedom is in the systems. And I was like, okay, like I gotta get the systems down, you know? And so once you get those systems down, and that's what we teach at these training academies, once you get the systems down and you start stocking your kitchen and your larder and your pantry with the right foods, then you get into a flow. And then like somebody's like, I'm going to take the pork shoulder out of the freezer and salt it. Okay, I'll throw it in the oven tonight and it will go overnight. And, you know, the kids are cracking eggs on the counter or setting the table, and you're lighting a candle at the table. You're making it like a beautiful thing that you're embarking on for the health and wellness of your family. So I think starting to just set that value system and that intention. And obviously, I think with a sick child or sibling, like everybody will be committed, right? There's nothing more important than healing. And it's such a healing process for the whole family, I think, in general. And everybody generally starts to feel better and see like how important it is and how successful it is to eat well and take care of yourself. So, and then just slowly start to weed out the bad ingredients, you know, like if there's things like if you're like a fully ultra processed family and that's where you are right now, then just be like, okay, I'm going to start with cereal, and we're going to take out the cereal and we're going to have bacon and eggs, you know, just that one thing, just try that and see how we feel. You know, if we have a higher protein and fat breakfast, we feel different, you know, like because it can't happen overnight. Usually it kind of can be too stressful. So
I think one of the hardest things is typically getting the kids on board and the husband on board. So you did say it usually falls on a party of one. Like I think there's Ben's here, but for the majority, thank you, Ben. But for the majority of us, there's women that are here that are looking into possibly making the changes. But I would not have been able to just make a meal for Paisley and then everybody else stays the same. One, it just visually to her would be completely unfair.
yeah.
But I will say, you know, my husband ended up losing 40 pounds and I didn't lose anything, whatever, but that's the way it goes. but I ended up having more energy to do all the things and to try and keep up with her medical schedule and so
Yeah.
forth. And with that, you know, the sisters, they didn't know any different. Like, this is, we
Yeah.
eat together, that's it. This is what mom's serving.
Yeah.
You did mention raw milk. And so I want to let anyone know who missed Mark's call from Raw Farms.
Mm.
That was 2 months ago. And so he spoke into raw milk because we're all told to be afraid of raw milk and anything fermented and probiotics. So I would say to go back and listen to that. It's on our YouTube channel on Kick Cancer Movement. So go back and watch that as
I
far as.
love Mark. He comes to our training academy every year. So he really gives a whole lecture. That's the one thing when I was teaching cooking classes out of my home. The number one fear for most parents was raw dairy. Like, am I going to kill my kids? And when we first did it, I was like, please don't let anyone drive. Like, I'm so programmed to think, to be afraid of it. And now it's been literally 15 years. And my kids at some point were drinking like 10 gallons a week. So Mark is like a huge friend. And actually when my husband had cancer, he had throat cancer, and he would have like raw milk, raw cream, raw egg yolks, smoothies with little stevia in there, like, and bone broths. And that's about it. When liver sometimes in the smoothies, but that would be like what he was able to stay off of a feeding tube, because I knew what was going to go in the feeding tube was going to be like super bleh. So he survived off of that, you know, just like super high calorie colostrum we put in there, whatever I could get in there.
Well,
So
and as far as feeding tubes too, parents, if you have a child on a feeding tube right now, or they're going to possibly be on a feeding tube, there are better options
yeah.
out there. Obviously, homemade is great, but I don't know how many hospitals would allow you to do that. But Kate Farms is one, but functional formularies is better. So we are talking about getting nutrition in there, but if they're getting on an NG tube or anything like that, you still want to focus on what's going into your child, because all of that matters. And you don't want the added sugars, the everything, they're not even tasting it. It shouldn't be in there. So
no, I had my aunt had throat cancer too, and she didn't want to do the fact, maybe she had a feeding tube for no, she had a feeding tube. And I had a friend, Justin Nault, who has the Clovis culture. He's amazing. He helped formulate what she would need to go into the tube. And he's like, she's going to feel better than she ever has. And she did. She's like, I feel great. Like, you know, because the option is just like, she's not tasting it, right? So it's just everything was, so it was amazing.
like, give me all the liver, just
Yeah.
there.
I mean, it was just like, and
anyways.
you can put capsules of stuff, like all the things. And so really do think about like what's going in there, because a lot of the stuff that they're putting in there is just, you know, the first ingredients are just, I don't know, remember exactly what it was, but vegetable oils and stuff. So anyway, you got to bless it and take steps. Don't like beat yourself up, and just, you know, empower yourself.
All right, so we were talking about strategies, but before we skip over strategies, I just wanted to say strategies specifically to picky eaters. Had to deal with that.
Yeah, I think, again, the family values and the intention of everybody sitting down together, so that it's like, we're all in this, we're all doing it. There's no other option. It's not like someone's having a peanut butter and jelly sandwich over here and you have to have soup, you know, if it's like a meat stock or something. I think also like that this is a process of like retraining the taste buds often, and like savory over sweet. And again, it can take time, but to be really vigilant and with intention to heal the body, right? And I understand there's a friend of mine, Christine Muldoon, who has Nourish the Littles on Instagram. She's all about picky eaters and how to get them. Yeah, Nourish the Littles. She would be a great.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, she's awesome. And nourishing our children on is a component of the Weston Price Foundation as well. So I think it really is about what's available, and then finding the things that they like, and trying to make, you know, so like those raw milk smoothies may be more appealing than, you know, a plate of bolognese with liver for one night, you know, or whatever your child's taste buds are and what they're craving, maybe try to make the healthiest version of that, right? So you're not buying ice cream, you're making a raw cream, raw milk, raw egg yolk ice cream, you know, that's like beautiful ingredients that are going to give a lot of good calories. And, you know, you can put kefir in there and, you know, so maybe sweetened with a little bit of honey. You can just do stevia if you're trying to stay completely away from sugar. And so, I'm trying to think of the picky eaters, the healthy, like peer pressure and stuff is certainly at school. So if friends are on board and friends are trying things, like that really helps in the line at school. If someone's like really nervous about something and we're joyful about it, like, oh, just try a little dab of this dressing, see if you like it. And then they're like, and more often than not, the kids light up and they're like, oh, I do like that. Or their friends trying and they're like, okay, I'll try it. So trying to bring the joy of the food and taking them to the market or giving them some autonomy. I don't know if kids are really sick, they're not going to want to go out, but giving them a little autonomy and then surrounding it with a kind of a joyful component. That's what we found with kids at school who are picky, is just really incentivizing them. Like there's one little girl super picky, like super picky. And I was like, if you try a couple things today, you can be a server, you know, right after you try it or whatever. So she lit up and she tried a few things and it was like, you know, a bite of a carrot and a dip of a salad dressing, but it was like whatever. It was like breaking that barrier of entry for her. And then she put on the gloves and we tied her hair back and she's like lit up serving. So then we had this relationship where if you try something new, you know, you can use it if you like we did when we were doing gaps. It's like Legos or a special time with mom or something to really just incentivize them to try, and then really positive reinforcement. If everybody's just like, wow, it's so awesome that you know, finished your soup and you look great, or whatever it is, you know, I feel great from having that. Do you feel like just trying to keep it super positive, I think, because it's just like all of us, right? That replay in our brain of, I don't like that. I don't like, you have like a, you know, aversion to it. But if you can try and create the fun around it and the version that they may like, you know, of something.
And I think for me, even just having that honesty with my 3-year-old at the time, talking about how the medicine she was taking changes her taste buds. And so
Yeah,
foods that she loved, she was like,
they
why
don't
doesn't this
taste good.
taste good? Like, why
Yeah, I
doesn't this
hear that
taste right?
happens so much,
And
right?
but we've kept that throughout. And so she'll still be like, I don't know, maybe I'll try it again and see if I like it. Cause you know, mom, taste buds change.
Yes, there's one little girl,
We've just been taking that along with us.
her mom actually came to the training academy and she taught me that she says to her daughter, you know, when she says, I don't like that, she's like, I don't like that yet, right? Because sometimes it does take like 15 tries or whatever. And I say that to the kids at school, like, you know, you're going to change. And the kids do change, you know, sometimes they're like, one kid was like all about bone broth, kindergarten, just like couldn't get enough bone broth. And the next year was just like, all he wanted was salami. Like every day he wouldn't eat anything. And I was just like, dude, you've got to eat something else. And then this year he came back and he eats everything. I'm like, what happened? He's like, I don't know, just like everything now. So it's like, great, you're most improved. You know, so they do change. And so just saying like, you're going to change and things will change. But just bear with me. And like, you know, I'm sorry that your taste, but things are weird. And, you know, but let's try and find things that you do like.
Yeah, and I like what Erin said right here, that she said her daughter Phoebe started cooking because if she makes it or seasons it herself,
Absolutely.
then she'll eat it. And I think
Absolutely.
that's another strategy, is getting them involved in the kitchen. I think you said something like that
Yeah.
earlier, but
Cracking eggs on the counter at age. My youngest was like in that Bumble thing where I was sitting there just watching everybody and give them a little chef's hat, like whatever you can do to involve them, because they do have so much pride in their creations. And so, you know, maybe you're looking online at like things that look good that you want to make, and how can we make this, you know, so that it's really super nutritious and delicious too, and just involve them as much as you can.
okay, moving on, because this is a hot topic right now with everything inflated, right? What are some of your secrets to making healthy eating affordable? I know you said that in the schools you've been able to get it somewhat like level as far as the cost.
Mhm.
So what does that look like? What are your secrets for making
Yeah.
nutrient dense foods affordable?
I think honestly, one of the biggest things is learning about your meats. You know, if you're going to spend more money on meats, which can be expensive, getting the different cuts of meat, like a chuck roll or a pork shoulder. You know, you're not always having to get like filet mignon or steaks or whatever that can be super expensive. And a chuck roll or a pork shoulder is a larger cut of meat that you can cook slow and low overnight. So it's super easy to prepare. And then you might have like shredded pulled pork for a week, right? So like often I believe in like cook once, eat multiple times. So if you think about the cost and then if you like kind of spread it out across the week, it often is like so much cheaper than going out to eat or where you thought you were saving money. Utilizing everything. So like if you're going to roast a couple chickens, you make those bones into a bone broth, you know, buying like meaty bones and making meat stocks, which are super healing for the gut. So I can find those in the freezer section at Whole Foods, just like, you know, shanks or lamb necks. You can find chicken feet or pork bones, stuff like that, that you can throw in that are not super expensive. Oh, it's a different phone. And then like making your own ferments, like you pay an arm and a leg at the grocery store, but if you buy a cabbage, one cabbage or two cabbages, you can make a whole huge thing of sauerkraut that will last you a long time.
Yeah.
And it's pennies, literally bone broth is like pennies to make. You're using your kind of leftovers and you can save all your scraps, like your carrots, onions, celery, skins, whatever. You can put them in a bag and put them in the freezer. So like when I want to make a bone broth, I'm just like, oh, I have everything. You know, it's like the bones are collected in the freezer, the scraps are collected in the freezer, and just throw it in a pot. So that's super economical. Um, Eggs, like I feel like eggs are easy, simple, nutrient dense food that don't have to break the bank. Like sometimes when my kids were little, it's just like breakfast for dinner, you know, like we're gonna have eggs and avocado and slice of tomato and a piece of sourdough or whatever, you know, like so it wasn't like a super uber expensive meal. And even when we have an egg meal at school, that's going to save us money, you know, so balancing out what you're eating throughout the week is super helpful. I think cooking at home in general is saving I mean, I think about when we do go out to eat, which is really rare, we're usually disappointed and then we spend like too much money. And I'm like, we could have made a much better meal for like nothing compared to this. So there is something to be said about experience and going out and whatever, but
Yeah. Well, and
it's cheaper.
especially when they're immune compromised
Yeah,
anyway.
you're not gonna be,
We're not going to be heading out to a restaurant with a bunch
no,
of people in the middle of flu season right now.
no.
If that is a thing again. But so cooking at home is actually a thing. We can do that.
Yeah,
And it's really just embracing it. So I know it
yeah,
takes time, but if you're making it, you know, turn on some fun music, turn on like make it a whole family thing. We're home, but we're gonna do this together. I actually, when we started buying whole chickens to cook, I was surprised at how much meat there was. And my husband still says it every time because, well, I make him cut it up because there's just some things that I draw the line at some places. Like he's got to cut it up, not me.
you'll cook it, he'll cut it up. That's
Yep,
great.
yep. So, because otherwise I won't eat it. I have to draw the line. But he cuts it up, and every time he's like, "There's so much more meat on here than you get in the store. Like, what do they do with that meat?"
Right?
Probably the chicken salad. Like they,
Well, and if you're gonna cook one chicken, cook two. You
right?
know, it's the
Yeah,
same amount of time. So cook two and then you can pull it off. You can freeze it. You can make, you know, have a beautiful roasted chicken dinner. Then the next night or the next day, you could have chicken salad. You can make chicken soup. You could make chicken tacos, whatever, you know, whatever. There's so many options. That's what I'm saying. When you have a good protein in the house, and if you cook enough that it lasts you a while, you don't have to like reinvent the wheel every night. And then you can just sort of like, we have
yeah,
a lot of Mexican. It's like super easy to throw together, you know? So just thinking about, and then if you want to incorporate the organ meats, like literally, I mean, pate, I would say my daughter loves pate. It's like her favorite thing in the world. My boys would rather have me take liver and mix it into things and just like, we don't have to talk about it. But when we make pate, she's like, oh my God, pate. And it is so delicious. So a lot of little kids like pate. I don't know, it depends. But, you know, liver pate that's in my cookbook, I would say add bacon if you can. It makes it super flavorful. But if you want to just add liver to your meats, like if you just get, like we sometimes just buy like Mary's liver at Whole Foods and chicken liver, and I just literally wash it, and you can just, I like salt, pepper, a little cumin if we're making Mexican. It's just like the less you cook it, the less livery it tastes. And actually Janine Farzan from Awfully Good Cooking is a very amazing resource. She also comes to our training academy as an instructor, and she's a mother of four and all about getting organ meats into people. But it's, you don't have to, it's just, again, getting over cooking it, and maybe you're not going to want to chop it up, but I promise you it's like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and then you just chop it up and you can throw it into ground meat, taco meat, and it's gone. It's just like, you don't see it, you don't really taste it. You put the seasoning on there. I mean, they might be more sensitive to seasonings, but that's the type of thing where you feel so good too when you know you're getting the good stuff into them, you know? So,
I think you already hit on some spots in my question that I had in the future about like meal planning, like making extra and freezing it. So I love this. You already hit it.
yeah, I'm trying to think of what else, like,
What's your thoughts
yeah,
on like the clean 15, dirty dozen?
I think it's important, like the more we learn about, you know, glyphosate and the pesticides and all the things that are being sprayed, if you can really get focus on prioritizing organic when you can, you know, like if it's not, if it's an avocado or something with a skin that you don't have to worry as much about, maybe compromise there. But if it, like, don't have to do organic, but if it's strawberries or bell peppers or, you know, something that's really going to absorb all of that, then really try to. It's unfortunate. It's so hard because we have to navigate so much and so many toxins in this world, but food is one thing that we do have some control over. So try and do your best, I would say, if you know, if you can afford to go organic. And often the other thing is, if you're in an area that has farmers markets, your farmers are freaking your best resource. They're so awesome. We need to support them, because if we don't have them, and we won't have access to these foods. But they, especially if they know your story and you're dealing with something that's, you know, this difficult, they will help you. You know, go at the end of the market. Like when I first started the school lunch program, I was like, listen, I'm starting a school lunch program. I want to feed the kids this. They'd be like, here, take this case of lettuce. Here, we have extra tomatoes. Take it. Just feed the children. You know, like they're so giving. And then, you know, now we're able to pay them back by ordering more and more food for the school. And so they're just very heart-centered people. They love what they do. And they often can't take everything back to the farm, you know, if it's not going to last for the next day. So you can get like a bumper crop of tomatoes and roast a whole ton of them and then cool them and freeze them. You know, then you have tomato soup for the whole winter, or a lot of things you can process and freeze. So
Yeah.
just getting to know your farmers. I know, again, it's hard if you can't get out, but maybe it's like one day a week, you're like, quiet time or alone time is going to be like going to the farmer's market. I'm gonna, because it's very life-giving too. It's just like, you know, the cycle of life, and you're in it with, when you're really intimate with your food and your farmers, there's a different appreciation for um, the cycle of life, and that we're all kind of, you know, in this together, right? And so we talk about that with the kids too, you know, with like animals dying to feed, to nourish us. And the best thing, like really none of us can get out of this act of eating unscathed, like whether you're eating vegetables or meats, like something's dying for your nourishment. And so to step into this act of eating with gratitude is really what we can do, right? And so, and thanking these farmers for raising like the most incredible healing foods.
Yes. Yes. Healing foods, not fake foods.
Yeah.
So as far as the affordability, like when we're talking about what you can afford, I would say then to, you know, spend more money on the dirty dozen, making sure that that's organic.
Yeah.
Right.
And I would spend more money on the nutrient density,
Yes.
right? So the meats and the organ meats and the raw dairy or healthy fats, right? Healthy fats are so important. So whether you can get animal fat, saturated, you know, animal fats are great. Good butter, ghee, coconut oil. good olive oil. Those are all really important. So weeding out all those vegetable oils, which are really damaging on a mitochondrial level. So it's not something we want to be putting in our bodies, and they're really like everywhere. So it's hard to avoid them. So again, when you cook at home, you have control over what is going in. So the and then like really making maybe a budget of like where you're spending your money, and hey, as a family, like where can we cut back? We want to really prioritize food. Is there something that we're spending money on that we haven't thought about that maybe we could cut out, you know? Whether it's going to get coffee or going out to eat or some clothes that we maybe don't need, like just even just for this moment while we're in this really intense healing phase, we're gonna just like pull it all in, and as a family, we're gonna like really like focus on this and like
Yeah.
do our best.
Yeah. Do you have any other, because I do think that meal planning and preparation is huge. So besides making extra and freezing it, is there anything else that can just help these
Yeah, the
parents
moms get
out
it.
at home
Yeah.
and come together? Because when everything else is so stressful, it's like, can I get it done? And then, it's already.
Yeah, I think like a system, right? So a flow, which may be hard to set up, but if it's like, okay, on Sundays, we're going to focus on preparation for the week. We're going to shop on Saturdays, and Sunday's going to be a day where we're just going to meal prep, or we're going to make sure we have those meats in the fridge all week so we can grab stuff if we're running back and forth to a hospital. I also thought about one of your questions, like if you're in like a really intense time, like maybe there's a meal train, or you're like I was thinking of your soul fam, like you need the people around you that are like-minded, that are understand your values and aren't going to just drop off pizza or whatever it is. Like, no, we're like, even if it's like, here's, kind of a guide, can you help us? Like asking for help, I think is really important in a time when, sometimes it's easier to just hunker down and like do it yourself. But if you're like really inundated and you're not able to accomplish it, then just like have a trusted friend or somebody that could organize something for you and just say, hey, can you really help me with this? Like, we're going down and like we are not putting healthy meals on the table, or I have to go back and forth to the hospital and there's nothing there, as we know. So like soups and stews and things like those are like things that really are nourishing, and you can add like, when we were doing gaps, like we would add, I mean, I was like fat free for like 10 years of my life, and that ultimately really screwed me up. But when we did gaps and it was like put lard in every bowl of soup, I was like, lard, like I remember getting a quart of lard, just being like, whoa, this will last us like the whole time. And like in less than a month, it was gone because we're putting that fat into our meat stocks and soups to like really satiate us. So I think soups and stews and like, meat stocks and stuff are really easy to throw together in some ways. And you can prep a bunch of like your mirepoix, which is your carrots, onions, and celery, like saute a bunch of that and then put it in little baggies and freeze it, so you just have that part done, and then you're just chopping up butternut squash or whatever it is.
And on those meal trains, you can be specific.
Super
You can
specific.
say, please don't send dessert.
Yeah.
Because everybody, they feel like you need to have a salad and a meal and a dessert. I know, because every time I had a baby, everyone from my church was so amazing. But it's like we had dessert 5 times that week.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my goodness, why?
Yeah, you can be really
So
specific.
be specific. And then something I just thought of too is like if they are bringing you a soup and maybe it's not bone broth, right? Of course, you could be specific on there. But if you're not, maybe you scoop out some of that broth, add a scoop of the Paleo Valley bone broth in there, whip it in there and pour it back in so you have some more nutrient density, or adding the pluck powder as seasoning to the foods that were dropped off, so that you have those organs that are added on top of it. So
Yeah. And I think also just like in those moments where things maybe aren't perfect, just be in that gratitude that someone's nourishing you. Like I had to go through that of like the fight or flight of like sitting down at someone's table where it's not perfect and you're like, oh, this is like not what I want to eat. But then I think it's so much more important for your nervous system to just bless it and be grateful that someone's love and energy is in that food. And that's what's really important. If it's every day, of course, you don't want to have, that type of food every day. But honestly, like I think stress is really like high level toxicity for us. So anything to just stay super calm and ride the wave and be in the flow of it all, because it's just like, and everyone has opinions and it's so super overwhelming. So sometimes I do think that kind of like we really like went in as a family, and was easier in some ways than to have to explain everything. So it just depends where you are in your stage. But the systems, I know I feel like I'm like, oh, I got to come out with more like resources for people to just like look up quickly. But there are a lot of resources out there. My cookbook is certainly a good resource because it's like really clean and it's just a beautiful way to eat in general. You don't have to be on, the GAPS protocol. You can just learn about just real nutrient dense foods. And yeah, so
Well,
Heather, we had a quick question
Yeah.
about the systems that you teach.
mm.
So are the systems specifically like helping get organized with meal planning, or what does that look like at your?
Yeah, so it's like stocking your kitchen and all that stuff. But literally, like for me, now that we're not on this healing protocol, we have things like beans and sourdough and stuff. So for me, it's like, every Sunday I'm making my 2-loaf sourdough bread recipe that's like, and I'm never been to culinary school, never worked a day in my life in a commercial kitchen, and all of a sudden was feeding 150 to 175 kids every day, just like, how am I going to do this? But I just knew it was possible. So you can do it. I am fully certain you can do it. And it's just like simplicity is gourmet. You're perfectly imperfect. Like you don't have to be, some amazing chef or anything. Just start. But the system, so I make my sourdough, especially at school, like we might have, a pasta in the beginning of the week, which maybe you guys aren't doing pasta, but you could certainly make like a easy put together bolognese sauce or something that you're just having, on the side, or a meat sauce of some sort. And then we are roasting chicken. So we're doing a chicken dish of some sort on a Tuesday, and then we're taking all those bones and turning them into a bone broth. And then Wednesday we might have more of a composed meal, like a shepherd's pie, where we can again like put the organ meats and stuff, or enchilada pie, something that's a little more composed. And then Thursday our broth is ready, so we have a soup salad focaccia day. This is all at the school. And then Wednesday will be salting our meats like a chuck roll or pork shoulder that will cook all day Thursday. So Friday's lunch is just pulling the pork shoulder apart and like putting some veg and salad and stuff on the side. And so it's like super easy meal to compose on a Friday. So it's like, making our bread, because we have sandwich days for part of the kids each week. And so at home, it's similar, just like with my bread, and then we're like soaking our nuts on a Monday and putting them in the dehydrator. And if you're making beans for, you just start to get in a rhythm of like, oh, if we're going to have pork shoulder, maybe we want to have black beans with it. So we're going to soak them overnight. And like I said, I think I said it to you guys, maybe I was on another podcast today, but all of these things take like 2 minutes here, 5 minutes there. And it's like, it's just those systems. So it's not like you're spending, if you're making a enchilada pie or something that's composed, that might take a little bit more time. But honestly, the meat things like the taco meat or slow roasted meat or roasted chickens, like those are just they're not that hard. And then so once you kind of get those in the flow, and then a lot of times we have leftovers, we'll just take that meat, and we have like beautiful Hacienda makes beautiful corn tortillas that are nixtamalized, and the corn is from Oaxaca, and they're at most Whole Foods across the country. And, you can quickly, I don't know if people are eating those in this time, but, just making a little taco and putting some meat on there and some creme fraiche and a little guacamole, like it comes together so fast. Making a chili, I just did that. Like I was back home with my mom for Christmas, and it was her birthday too, and we're having like 20 people over, and she's freaking out like, oh, what are we gonna have for dinner? And I'm like sitting there, I'm like, I am a chef. Like, I believe I could cook a meal for 20 people. Like, I know I could, and I was just like, I'm going to make chili, or I made a pork shoulder. And then another night I made a chili, and it was chili and cornbread. And they all were like, wow, this is awesome. I'm like, it's just, but it gets overwhelming when you haven't done it. So sometimes it's like, I say to a lot of people, like, you have to earn your street cred. Like, but once you've done it once, you can say like, I've done it. And then you start to get like a little more confidence. You have to build your confidence in the kitchen.
Yeah, don't let what she's saying overwhelm, because it sounds like, wow, she does all of
Oh,
that.
sorry.
We're starting small, and this is
Okay.
where it's something like even me this many years later that I want to grow into, because I don't have those systems. I'm not there yet. I still believe that I was able to get nutrient dense foods into my kid, but I wasn't able to have these systems just yet. So if you don't feel like you can have that time dedicated to that, because sometimes we're living a day at a time, depending on a fever or anything
Totally.
else. You could then be in hospital the next day and you're like, my pork roast. Like,
Yeah, no. And I get
not
that. Yeah. And
so,
I still don't, it's not like I do this every week and it's perfect too, at all. I mean, even tonight, I'm like, oh, what are we gonna have for dinner? You know, there's like a freaking city's burning down. Like, we have no power, like, but we'll you know, so like we are not perfect, even at school, but it's just, I guess, more the focus on the nutrient dense
yeah,
foods. And when you have a good protein, the rest is really easy to fill in. So if you're getting good quality protein, whether it's eggs or meat or fish or chicken, you're just going to steam some broccoli and put some butter on it and have a little, you know, or I don't know if you're having rice, if you're, you know, it depends on like what kind of dietary things you're, you know, able to eat. I don't know. Some people may be more keto, some people are maybe able to have rice and stuff. So you have to kind of evaluate where you are. But I think that again, that protein and then fill in around. And that protein and the fats are what's going to satiate you. So if you're kind of, if you think about it, like I feel like our country is like overfed and undernourished because we're eating a lot of highly ultra processed foods that are not satiating us on a cellular level. So we're always grabbing for more, right? To like fill that, to feel full and feel satisfied. And there's no shut off button when it's like sugar. So it's just like you could go forever, right? So just when you have the mindset of like, and you feel it when you feel, and even if your child isn't able to eat this right now, even as parents, like it's super important that you take care of yourself, right? Because if like mama or dad goes down, then like the ship's going down. So taking time to nourish yourself and feel how you feel, because it's really easy to be like on the go, grab a bar, or whatever it is to like just, you know, survive. But if you can have those things, and then maybe it is like you give a recipe to a friend and be like, can you just make me like 10 quarts of soup that I can put in my freezer, please? Like, I'll do it for you when you need it. You know, like it's
yeah,
about that, you know, reciprocity and all those things that, but I do understand the overwhelm. So I don't want to overwhelm anybody because it's just, I know what it's like to be like totally in it. And it was with a husband, not a kid. So, but I have had kid issues and it's just, it's a lot. It's all a lot. And it's not how you want to be spending your time, you know? And so that's why I'm like super passionate about prevention and setting these kids up for a lifetime of health because, you know, once you're in this position, it's just like, shit, I want to be going to basketball practice or baseball and soccer and coaching and doing all the things. I want my kid to be doing these things. So it's just a moment. And I feel like really important. The body is miraculous. We are nature. That's one of the major things we teach at the academy is that you are Mother Nature's miracle. We're not separate. And so when we look at things in nature in awe, like a butterfly or a caterpillar or a flower or a mountain or an ocean, then you're just like, that is so incredible. Like it's so symmetrical and beautiful. Like what if we could turn the mirror on ourselves and like unzip ourselves and see all the systems that are working tirelessly every single second of every day to keep us healthy and alive and to get to homeostasis. So even when you're sick, your body is working like all the time to get to homeostasis. So when you support it with the lifestyle factors and the food, like it will go that way. And so just as we wouldn't like, you know, water our plants with gasoline, like we want to and expect it to grow, we want to like, you know, but we're resilient too. So like if you have to do treatments that you think are really harsh and they are, like we had to do some stuff that was really harsh and it's like, but kids are resilient, the body is resilient. And so just keep showing up and doing the best you can. And I really feel like just try to avoid as much stress as you can because it's like, it's also stressful. So it's like to really just
love you.
try to laugh. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons my life has been really stressful with all this whole healing journey. And so I love to go into the kitchen at school and just sing and dance and laugh. I'm sure everyone on Instagram thinks I'm crazy, but I'm like, I think it's like a coping mechanism of just like, let's just put the music on and do good work and feed the children and hug a kid and, you know, check I did a good job for today. Cause it's like, it's joyful, right?
It's
And
my
so,
kind of crazy. It's my kind
yeah,
of crazy. Well,
music is really healing.
yes,
So,
yes.
and
Um,
friendships.
mhm. Well, and music is my jam. I love to
Yeah.
dance. So let's roll that right into a topic that I really wanted to talk about, because meal planning and preparation, I think, falls right into line with the planned in-hospital stays. So not the emergency ones when we have to go, but when we know we're going to be in for 2 months, um, or when it's extended, or not 2 months. For us, it was usually 2 weeks at a time that we were off, and then a week inside hospital. So everybody has a different schedule, but when you know you're going to be in hospital for a week, some meal planning preparation can take place. What would you suggest though, when we're not able to cook there? There's no stoves. There's a microwave that I would suggest avoiding if you can. A very small refrigerator if you have that. And for the most part, I mean, can anyone talk to their hospital menu being like nutrient dense or great for your kids?
So unfortunate. It's so sad.
So, I mean, if there's anyone on this call, because I know we have people all throughout the United States here. So if you can speak to your hospital actually stepping up its bar on nutrition for hospital food, you tap in. Let me know where you're from.
Mm.
Because we want to talk to them and be like, how'd you do it? Because we need to start
I
making some
know. That's
changes.
what we want to train is all the like, you know, people in charge of feeding people. So not just the school chefs, but the hospital staff. And it's like once
Absolutely.
you get the value system, then you can make better choices, right? But if you're operating on a really low level value system and not understanding that, you know, these foods are so important for the patients. So I would
Any
say,
tricks going in hospital?
say what?
Any tricks going in
Oh,
hospital as far as food that you can do?
yeah, I would say whatever you can prepare, obviously at home, if you have the energy to prepare, like again, soups and stews, things that you can keep in thermoses even. And you know, maybe you could even, like if you've prepared something, I don't know if they would allow this, you could just put a blanket over it, but prepare a big something in a crock pot and just like plug it in the hospital room and just cover it with a little blanket. And then you can have, you know, food right out of there because you can just put a whole chicken in a crock pot, you can put a chili in a crock pot, you can do, and it's, I mean, they might be like, wow, it smells really good in here, you know, like I don't know, but I don't know that they would really care.
I
Maybe
don't know. Has anybody heard like no to crock pots? I mean, you're
you could
probably
get a
that
pretty
crazy
big
mom
one too.
coming in with a crock pot and your Instapot and you're like, I'm just cooking.
Yeah, I mean, like any sort of coolers, or can you plug in an extra little refrigerator? I mean, electrolytes, like things like that, like Redmond Real Salt has, and that's the other thing is like salt, you know, like having good quality salt is super important. So a lot of the foods in the hospital are with like junky table salt. And so Redmond Real Salt is, I've been to the mine in Utah and there's just like so many trace minerals in it. It's like actually super nutrient dense, right? It's so good because we're deficient.
Yeah,
And so, you know, just taking
definitely
a,
bringing your own salt for sure.
yeah. And they have electrolytes that are flavored with stevia or whatever. So like for kids, it's like for me, even I drink like a quart, like several of these quarts every day, and we'll give them to the kids at school because they're out in the land running around and, you know, thirsty or whatever. So it's just a good way to replenish. So that's
Hillary, they
great.
actually just started donating their kids' electrolytes to our kit.
Great.
Yeah,
Oh my
so
gosh,
we just got them. So starting like the next month's kits, we should have their electrolytes.
they're an amazing company, just like so heart-centered, and it's just like I can't say enough about them. They've been to the school several times, so you know, that's awesome because that's a great thing for just to stay hydrated because you know it's just, and then we're bringing you orange juice and ginger ale or something. It's like just go with the electrolytes,
Right.
you know.
And we're just so
Um,
excited that the kids line is, the flavors are a little more
yeah,
palatable for the kiddos. So,
yeah. My
you know,
kids really like them.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we're excited to have them be a part of what we're doing.
Yeah. And I mean, even like, you know, like I'm not like a huge powder person, protein powder person, but like I don't know, like if it's better than hospital food and you have raw dairy and you can put, you know, something in there that's more nutritious than what you might get, or if it's something that's, you know, going to give the protein. And like my
I
kids
like,
wanted to bulk and I was like, I do not want to buy protein powder. And they're like, but we're bulking, like my boys. And I was like, oh, and they're like, we're going to buy it or whatever. And so I found a company, Noble, that they tried. And so, you know, I'm really more for real food, but it's like one of those things, like if you're in a situation where it's like at least an intentional, you know, it's going to get some calories in this, not like filled with junk.
yeah.
But obviously,
I like Taylor Duke's protein
oh,
powders.
I just heard about her,
Yeah, she's had
on,
some decent ones, and then
is she
obviously just
Paleo
using
Valley too.
Paleo
Paleo
Valley?
Valley
Yeah,
has their bone broth powders.
yeah. And
Um,
Dr. Cowan's, what is it called? Dr. Cowan's something. He has like powders that I know I put in my aunt's, like veggies. There's like not low oxalate veg and stuff like that that I put in her feeding tube and stuff. So there's ways to get nutrition in if it's just like, you know, you're kind of, because you could probably take a blender in there. Literally with my aunts, it was like eggs, kefir, and then a bunch of powders. And so if you could have a carton of eggs and some raw kefir or whatever, um, and then you just have stuff that you're putting in, at least it's better than junk, right?
I like the idea of the ice chest. I never even thought about that because the fridge literally it's like
I
this
know.
thin and this wide. You're just like I can fit a few things in there. But Devin had said that Instapots have a warming cycle, so that's
Mm-hmm.
what we plan on taking. Erin, I think you had unmuted yourself. I was going to let you talk, but then you typed it in there. So she said we did not take anything big, but we took a mini toaster and waffle
Mm-hmm.
iron. We take a bin with seasoning and kitchen tools. I love that. At our
Yeah.
hospital, you can only get a mini fridge in your room if you have food allergy or for religious reasons. Really,
Tell
only
them.
for those reasons do you
I'm
get a
like, just
fridge.
tell them, then you have those things.
Yep. We have a food allergy.
I would just be like, we're
We,
moving in and
yeah.
we care about our health and we're gonna do what we have to do to take care of like feeding our kid and all of us so that we can stay sane and be well nourished. Do you have a
Yeah,
problem with
well, they
that?
have a big fridge that everybody shares, so you can do it
That's
in like the
good.
community fridge, I guess. But the only way to get one in your room is for those two
You can't, can
reasons.
you bring
So,
your own mini fridge? Like
um,
that thing?
I don't know. They kind of like
Hmm.
let us slide with a lot of things. Like the
Yeah, I
more
would
we
say
went, the
like,
more we brought, and
be
so
like, this is
I
really
had like the
important to
whole
us.
like a windowsill like full of like little mini appliances the last time we were there, like
Your blender,
like for
everything.
all these like random things, and it just really depended on what she felt like eating and all then. So,
Yeah,
so we had quite the variety. But
I
like people
love
were always
that.
coming in like her big thing is she loves avocado toast. And when people would come in, she'd be like eating that. They're like, you have like such a weird, like a unique, an advanced palate for like a kid, because she was 8 when she was diagnosed, and she was like, they can't even make toast in this hospital, and so like, she would like be over there, like hooked up to her IV pole, like making her own
Making our
toast,
own toast.
because
My gosh, that's,
she's picky about
well,
how
then you're
like
setting
it's
an
done,
example
but
though for other people too. They'll get curious, like, what are you doing and why, why are you doing
yeah.
this? Then you have an open
We just
opportunity
had like
to,
a cooler bag, like one of
yeah,
those, like the giant or whatever, like that's insulated cooler bag. And we just put all of our food in there. So we just pull out the bag and like take it all into our room. But it has like all our butter and everything in it. And so
yeah.
like that's our solution for it. But yeah,
You could
you have
just,
to get
yeah,
creative.
you could have a cooler. Like when we went camping, my husband and stuff, we had to take a lot of food and we had a cooler and our largest expense was just buying ice every day. So we would just like keep putting ice on top of it, so get creative and show the hospital, but
Devin, Devin said she even had access to a freezer, which is awesome. I think the only downside to that would be is if it's full, like you bring all your frozen, like, things to eat, and then it's a full freezer because you never know what's already going to be there.
Right
It's
in
not
there.
like, you're getting to book your space in the freezer. But yeah, that's great, you guys. I love that you have thought and actually done some of these things. Devin, did you have anything to add?
Well, I was just gonna say, it was crazy that we had our own mini fridge. And then out in the hall, you had another full fridge freezer that you had access to, and they had it stocked with stuff, but it was mostly garbage. And we would take in our meals and put in our leftovers, or if people brought us food, we'd put it in there. And we were the only ones on the floor really utilizing it. I think everyone else was eating from the cafeteria or and ordering food from the hospital, but we'd have people bring us food, and we did take up a toaster. But then I was scared that, like, what if there's so many crumbs in there or something, and we set off the fire alarm or smoke detector. So I didn't keep using that, but we since got an Instapot, and we had a friend who was, her son also has cancer, who was in the hospital, and I was like, take your Instapot, use the warming thing instead of using the microwave to warm things up.
Mm,
Yes, this
that's a
is
good
brilliant.
idea.
When I was in the hospital, literally the only thing I saw people making was popcorn in the microwave. Like that's it. You don't see anybody bringing in their own food so we were an anomaly. But I didn't even go as far as you guys are with crock pots and like I love you guys.
At ours,
It's
they were
amazing. You
usually
guys are amazing.
making like like the Kraft mac and cheese bowl things like that. Like that's what I see everybody making. It's so gross, but they like there's kids that like literally live off of that there, and I'm just
Yeah,
like,
and people just don't, like, what I've realized over time is, like, people just don't know. They don't
Yeah.
know, then they don't know there's a different way. So by you just showing an example, like, that's what we're doing at the school, is like, we're just like, I'm just like, I can't touch the whole public school system really. It's like a huge whatever machine that's going, and I was like, I'm just gonna build a new boat and show what's possible. And that's like what you guys are doing. You're showing that there's another way possible, and that, because a lot of people don't know, and so they might get curious and say, like, wow, what are you doing? And be like, oh, this is really important to, get the best nutrition into our kids. And happy to help you, not that you have a lot of spare time, but happy to share resources, or share what we're doing. And then maybe more and more people will catch on. Because it's just sad. It's like people just don't know. And they don't know what to do.
well,
So,
yeah,
and
even when Phoebe was first diagnosed, like, I've been gluten-free for years, and I was like asking the nurses and the even like the social worker, like anybody, like where I could get some like gluten-free options around the hospital, because I was really coming up. I mean, we were totally blindsided by the whole like being admitted to the hospital for 2 weeks because of her diagnosis. Like we had no clue. Like we went for blood work and ended up admitted for 2 weeks, So I was like, what do I do? And they were all like, oh, I don't know. Like we always bring our food. And I was like, like, that doesn't help me, like
yeah,
I'm here, like I
Yeah,
can't go anywhere, like, and like DoorDash, even I was coming up empty-handed and stuff. So, yeah, my daughter's dance studio actually ended up like they would send me food every day, like
oh, that's
for
awesome.
lunch, like they would. That's where we
That's sweet.
became like really good friends with the studio owner and that did the fundraiser and all that stuff, like because she would just be like, oh, I can do that. She's like, I'm a door dashing queen, and she would just so she would just like send me like salads and things. They would just show up, and then I wouldn't have to like worry about it. So
Yeah, that's another great option too, is if you have good restaurants around you that, you have DoorDash or that can drop it off at hospital and you pick it up. Like that's a great option as well. So that didn't exist when we were in hospital. So
Yeah. I mean, you guys are amazing. I mean, my experience was so different with a husband, and it was throat cancer, so we didn't deal with all those things and a child and wanting certain things. You know, he was an adult, they could conceptualize everything and be like, okay, I have to just buckle down and do this or whatever. But so I just applaud you all for showing up and, you know, wanting to learn and do better and doing the best that you can every day, because it's a lot. It's a lot. So just good job. Good job.
Well, before we go on any further, I do want to make sure, Dana, if you have that information to put in the chat, it's to go to holistichilda.com. And then you're going to click community tab, and Dana will put in the code in the chat so that you guys can have access. It's going to be from tonight until the 11th. So you have a few days of access. So I would absorb all things Hilda that you can grab up in there. I don't even know what's available in there. I don't have access.
I don't know.
But
She's amazing though.
and then Saturday is the cooking class. Can you speak to that really quick, Hilary?
Yeah, so Saturday, I think it's like 9 o'clock in the morning Pacific time. I think we have to check on that. But we're cooking up, like people are showing up with bone broth. They'll have it all made, I guess. And then we're just going to show how to put together a chicken soup, like super easy and delicious chicken soup. So you can just watch or you can make a chicken soup with us. I think she's sending out like basic ingredients, which basically is just like bone broth and chicken and carrots, onions, celery, maybe some garlic and rosemary and thyme, you know, whatever you have on hand. So, but you don't feel any pressure to have all the ingredients. You can just watch.
And then she just put in the chat as well, at School of Lunch is where you can find Hilary and follow her and all our other stuff. When's the whole digital thing happening?
We're working towards that. It's a lot. We're trying to figure out how to like get it all captured because it's so unique in person, right? It's hard to like get it all, but we want to do a SOLTA 101, which is School of Lunch Training Academy, kind of so that everybody can have access to at least the value system and the basics and just, you know, start somewhere, right? So we're working on that now. So hopefully in the next several months, but we have training academies coming up in February, April, June, and August. So
yeah, and those are 5-day in-person
5-night, yeah,
or 5-night, training
person.
academy, which I think would, my
Yeah,
goodness.
I mean, if you can send a family member, you know, I know it's hard to get away.
It's not just cooking, like you treat them with luxury and
It is like,
massages and all the things.
you don't really get massages, but you
Oh,
basically get like a full
too far.
on, it's so life-changing. Like I basically am like, if it's full, I mean, my partner's like, don't say that, but I'm like money back guarantee if your life isn't changed forever, because I feel like everybody who comes through is just like, it's about that human connection and nature connection, and then being empowered with these tools for life. It's for everybody. It's not just, you know, for school chefs or for people struggling. It's like all of us are in this together, right? Like we're trying to raise the level of consciousness. And then I'm like, just go be the ripple, just like take care of yourself, step into the work, you know, whether it's just your own home or a school or a hospital, like you know, you guys will hopefully all be out on the other side of this very quickly. And then, you know, you'll be out thriving in the world and spreading the message about healing. And, you know, you're just in the thick of it right now. So keep your eye on the prize and just keep showing up every day and do your best.
Love you so much, and I'm so excited to continue to see you, even if it's on Instagram. But it was such a blessing to have you here tonight amongst all the chaos that's happening with the fires and the chaos that's happening within your lives right now, mothers of children with cancer. And so I just want to say thank you to everyone who's taken the time to hop on tonight. If you guys have any other questions while we have Hilary, or any questions about the Kickstart kit, we can answer those afterwards.
Yeah.
So.
And I would just say quickly, like lastly, I think the most healing thing for the gut is really meat stocks. So meat cooked on the bone with a few vegetables like carrots, say, and onions. And you only cook it for like 1.5 to 3 hours, really. So it's not a whole bone broth experience, but that is like really healing and sealing the gut. And so looking at the GAPS diet is a good resource, just the work of Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride, and don't get super overwhelmed by it. Just, you know, look up meat stock, and it's very easy to throw together, and like super healing. So that's like, you
And then
know,
you have your book as
yeah,
well.
I don't have a Heal, but the Heal Your Gut Cookbook, which is on Amazon. It's like, I don't know, it's under $20, I think. And just, you know, there's meat stock in there and bone broths and stuff. And it's kind of like how we made it through trying to do this difficult thing, which, you know, again, it's as difficult as you make it. It's like, it's from my perspective where I wasn't trained as a chef. So it's a pretty easy recipes. So it's designed to be easy for all of us who get overwhelmed in the kitchen. So, and then my photographer is really amazing. So they're beautiful photographs to, I like to like buy cookbooks and curl up in bed and just look through them all. So anyway, you guys are more than welcome to reach out to me anytime on Instagram, which is School of Lunch. You can DM me with questions. You can reach out on schooloflunch.com and just contact us. You can email, ask questions. I'm happy to help. Again, I haven't had a child with cancer, so I'm speaking from a little bit of a different perspective, but I feed kids every day, and I just am super passionate about, you know, bringing back their joy and your joy and vitality, you know, so you're not alone. And I remember in my darkest days, someone just gave me a hug. It's like, you're not alone. And so it's really important to feel that. And this community, it seems just so amazing. So I'm happy to help in any way.
And I could have stayed on this call for another hour. We usually try and keep our calls under an hour. And I just kept on wanting to talk. Like, just keep going.
I like to talk though.
So-
I'm like, I could go forever.
So thank you. And for those of you who have hung in there for an hour and 20 minutes, you guys are rock stars. So thank you. And
Thank you.
we hope to see you guys all soon. Next month is
Yes, next month is going to be nutritional therapy for cancer patients during and after treatment with Hannah Rankowska. Hopefully I said that correctly. Registered holistic nutritionist and certified holistic cancer practitioner. So we'll see you guys
Awesome.
on the
That's
12th.
great.
Yeah, so
Same
thank you.
time, same place. I'm sorry if this shows up on your calendar weird. I don't know. I feel like time zones are hard even for technology purposes. I can't figure it out. So anyway, same time, same place next month. Hilary, thank you so very much. This was so helpful. I'm going to join this weekend. I put in there the code. It's Hill. Should be easy to remember on Hilda's website. So go in and check that
Awesome.
out, and we can get more of Hilary and Hilda this weekend. I
Aw,
loved
awesome.
my time with Hilda. She was like, we spent like 20 minutes on the phone together doing a live, and I could just like feel her energy, and I was like
She's
high
so
all
good.
day on Hilda
I know. She's amazing. So yeah, just tune in to see Hilda.
for sure.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for having
Thank you
me.
guys. Prayers,
care.
Hilary. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Keep us
Thank you.
updated.
Good
Okay.
night.
I'll be praying for
All
you.
right.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.